could see the expression on her face. Oh, she's disappointed. I mean, despite the difficulty that she's having, I'm very impressed with her.
And she has some really good elements. Back handspring to a layout. Good fight as she keeps in balance. I wonder if she let down a little bit. The routine was going so beautiful. This is the only trick at the end she had to worry about. I don't know what happened there. She was a little short on rotation. She did her best to fight it, but no way she could stay on. She finished with a good round off to a double full. It's too bad she had trouble there because it was going beautifully.
And the score she receives is 8.95. When you add 5/10 for the fall, she'd be up to the 9.45 range. She's really a strong performer and shouldn't be crying at all. She's a strong gymnast. Right now, 8.95 for Carol Ulrich on the balance beam. Now we are ready to move back to the men's competition. You are looking at Jorge Garcia. He is ready to vault. Again, the men only vault once.
Yeah, men's vaulting, it's one shot. You got to do it. Here we go. Handspring, pike front. Oh, he was in really good position. He had good height, good distance. I think he just misjudged the landing.
Jorge Garcia currently is on top.
This is important to notice here. This is a blind landing. You don't see the floor until right when your feet just about make contact. It's a very difficult vault to really spot the landing on. When you're flipping backward, you can see the landing much earlier, but you'll notice he doesn't see the landing. Let's spot it. He goes over twice right there. As his feet pass in front of him, he won't even see the landing until they're just about on the ground.
Jorge Garcia receives an 8.70. Now remember, the edge that he has over Kyle Asano is 1.20. If Kyle Asano could throw a stronger vault, he can narrow that gap considerably.
Pretty good job.
Except for sloppy feet. If feet were apart and toes weren't, were kind of flexed, clean up the form a little bit, and he's a strong vaulter.
That'll certainly keep him in the running in this competition. You see what he does here. He does a round off on. This vault is actually called a kasamatsu. He does a good job at fighting the landing. It's sort of a piked position. It wasn't quite laid out. I think he was trying to do it laid out. But as you mentioned, the body positions weren't really precise.
No, that's kind. His legs were apart and the toes were flexed. But he does narrow the gap between himself and Jorge Garcia. 9.15 for Kyle Asano. Jorge Garcia only had an 8.70. Things are getting closer. Move now into the final rotation for the women's competition. Margaret Ulett leads Carol Ulrich 28.65 to 27.425, a difference of 1.225. Very tough to do with one rotation remaining. Now the men have two apparatus remaining. Kyle Asano still trails Jorge Garcia, but it's very close at 0.75, and with two rotations left, that's an attainable goal. Kyle Asano will be up first on the parallel bars.
Glide kip, reverse straddle, drop peach, Stutz handstand. He's having a little trouble. That was kind of a neat move. Using a little originality on that
leg cut turn.
Leg cut turn, that's exactly what I would have called it. Good job.
Can we call that a Riley now since I named it?
Oh, nice high pike double dismount. Certainly that was the best part of the exercise, the ending. He had a little trouble early on. He showed some of the requirements. Of course, the judges are looking for a swinging C part. They're also encouraging the gymnast to do more underbar work. He does a glide kip reverse straddle. This is a peach. Peach to a handstand. That is an underbar requirement. The judges need to see an element of at least B value, the medium range value, that goes to or from a hang. And right here he does that leg cut turn, which I guess if he competes internationally, we'll have to call an Asano. This dismount was great. Really nice high and really flips over easily on a pike double back. Over rotates it a little. That's tough.
The score he received for that performance on the parallel bars was 9.20. Again, he trails by 0.75. So let's see what Jorge Garcia can do on the parallel bars.
Garcia's going to mount on the end as well. There's a glide. Swing to a handstand. All right. It's a nice element. See, he's really doing a lot of underbar work. As I mentioned, the judges are encouraging this as he shows some really interesting work on a giant, reverse hect, giant. Now he's having trouble with some of the easier elements, as we saw him have problems earlier. He can do a lot of big tricks. He's done 5 now major underswinging elements, which is a nice, unique way of approaching the parallel bars, although it was a really one-sided routine because all of his difficulty came from one style of skill, all underbar giant swing elements. He needs to show a more well-rounded exercise. Here, I guess you can see why he had trouble. He did a reverse stutz to a straddle cut. He was having trouble there. So what does he do? He kicks right back into his forte, which is the giant swing elements. You can see here, he does a giant down to a front uprise to the end, swing back, and a giant to a tuck double back. So it's a really interesting idea. I think he needs to show a more well-rounded exercise, though.
I believe the judges agreed with you. Now this is going to make the scoring very interesting because Jorge Garcia received an 8.15 for that routine. Remember, Kyle Asano received a 9.20 and was trailing by 0.75. Going into the high bar, these two gymnasts are very, very close. But right now, let's move to the final event for the women. And you are looking at Carol Ulrich on the floor exercise.
Nice high tuck double. Double full punch front. Oh, a little short. But that is a very difficult move. You don't see a lot of women do double full punch fronts, and she just about made it right.
She didn't take much of a break after that. She went right into that double stack handstand. Carol Ulrich from Broomfield, Colorado. Certainly has to be considered a favorite here.
Here's her last run. Double full. Nice finish.
So, strong tumbler, too.
She does a really high tuck double back. She actually opens up just a little early. You'll see she has to take a step forward, but she is airborne. The second tumbling run right here, good speed. She's going to do round off back handspring to a double full. Now watch this. As soon as she lands, punch to a front. That is really tough on the old ankles.
And it was a little bit low, but she pulled it out.
Her last tumbling run, a double full. A little low there, you can tell. She was running out of juice, but she did a good job at pulling the landing around and making a very strong finish.
And the score that the judges gave her for that routine, 9.25 for Carol Ulrich on the floor exercise. Her opponent, Margaret Ulett, will face Brandy Johnson in the next rotation. Brandy Johnson, of course, the winner of program number 1, in case you did not see that. This is program number 2, a series of 11 shows here on ESPN. Margaret Ulett will go up against Brandy Johnson. A rather percussive beginning.
twisting front. That was really unique. I've never seen that before. You've seen gymnasts do handspring full twisting fronts. There's a few that do 1.5 twists, but that was a really unique mount, a double twisting front out of a front handspring. Front step out through to a full. Now that was a weak tumbling run. She really needs to show more difficulty in that middle tumbling run. Although it was clean, the judges are really looking for the high-flying double flips or triple twists.
Do you think it was strategy on her part? Knowing pretty much that she has this sewn up and has Brandy Johnson waiting in the wings to challenge her?
It's possible, although I think that her tumbling is sort of one-directional. She's very good in front tumbling. She opened with a double twisting front. She dismounted with a 1.5 twisting front. But she probably needs work on her back tumbling. She has no real power in the takeoff for the double backs or the double fulls or the triple fulls.
This, by the way, is the final.
Watch this move here. This is really great, though, I have to admit. Handspring front, double twist, and she pulls it right around to a front head spring. She'll get points back for originality because that is really interesting stuff. Now right here, she's going to do front step out. She's a little low through this move. Round off back handspring full. She could beef that up if she could at least do a double full on that room and get more difficulty points back from the judges.
Her score outdistances Carol Ulrich 9.6 to 9.25. Margaret Ulett will advance. Then 5. So Margaret Ulett will now face Brandy Johnson in the next rotation in the next session. You'll have to watch for that in your listings for which show that will be. Kyle Asano against Jorge Garcia. This is not over. After leading through 5 rotations, Jorge Garcia only received an 8.15 on his 5th apparatus. Now he goes into his 6th and final event with a 0.3 deficit. So Jorge Garcia has got to hit on the high bar if he's to defeat Kyle Asano.
He said yesterday when we were talking to him that the high bar is his favorite event. He's more confident there, and it's very exciting for him. So he's going to need a good performance here today. Pirouette over the top. One-arm giant swing to a release move. Good work. Oh, a little trouble on the kip cast. He's a little sloppy. You can see he has good swing elements, but he doesn't quite yet have the polish. He'll get that as he gets a little older and a little more confident in competition. Triple back. Good dismount.
Well, he's dropped the gauntlet for Kyle Asano. Again, he trails by 0.3.
This release move is really interesting because he does a one-arm turns backward and then does a front with a full and makes a good regrasp without breaking form. And that's a very complicated move out of a one-arm giant swing. Good speed here for the dismount. Really, he makes this very easily. Look at him crank those knees apart. That really increases your rotation. Let's look one more time. You can see he's good and high. He's really pulling. No problem on the triple back. He's going to be a fine young gymnast because he can do a lot of big tricks. When he polishes up his exercises a little bit, he's going to go places.
The number he received is 9.10.